Hello friends, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I am coming to you today with quite an expose on the dark world. Now this is a current event that is part of a longer thread that has been happening for almost a decade now, I feel. And it is part of the reason that I am in this position. It is part of the reason that I wrote the book, Dark World Light Work. And it is part of the reason that I created this social media experience. It is to expose this kind of behavior. And I feel like I have, if you watch these videos, you can see that I put together a lot of pieces and I have these strange interactions that allow me to bring everything together in a way that is personal, so that I can present my information to the world. And this is one of the most interesting things. Now, as you know, it's a huge part of the book and a huge part of this experience, and I've mentioned it several times. I was targeted by the media, by the Hollywood elite, after they saw some of the comments that I left on the YouTube channels of some popular television shows during the 2016 election. I mentioned this before. You can find the videos. I figured out that there was a grift around the 2016 election. I figured out what it was, and I put it online. I've also mentioned it in these videos before, so you can see that, but that's not what this is about right now. But it does inform this story. And I also mentioned how the Hollywood collective decided to engage with the FBI and the CIA and participate in something called remote viewing, which is where they try to basically put themselves into a meditative state where they can connect to the energy of a specific target. And then they use that to siphon their energetic signature and to pick up any sort of information that they can about the person where they are in time and space. And so if they do that to a person who is a creative, oftentimes they can take their ideas. And I have had my intellectual property not just stolen on an energetic level, but also just from people looking online and seeing some of my old work and my current work for many years. And I've also had many Hollywood players, let's call them, try to remote view me. And I mentioned this before in a video. When they do that, here's how remote viewing works. If you are trying to view a quote-unquote subject, the subject knows what's going on. Now, if the subject is of a lesser spiritual rank and has less spiritual acumen than you, they will be confused. They will not know where the energy is coming from. They're not knowing where it's going to, and they don't know who is doing it. However, in the case of myself, all of these people were messing with somebody of a higher spiritual rank. So I became the parasite to them. I became the one who was siphoning all of their energy. They didn't know what to do with it. And they are the ones who ended up with the mental issues that the other people who they tried this on got because they did it to them. I hope that makes sense. I mentioned this also before in the video. The most recent case of this, I think, would probably be the lady who allegedly shot at Rihanna. I promise you the reason that she was drawn to that action is because not just Rihanna, but probably her boyfriend or whatever that guy is, A$AP Rocky, and a bunch of other Hollywood players were targeting her not only energetically, but probably online as well. And she probably didn't have the chops to hold them back, but I have the chops to cut their heads off. And that is what I have done in my 842-page memoir, and that is what I continue to do here. Now, the point of this story is that recently 2 more players tried to enter the game. And they entered the game after they knew that I said that I'm the one who's in control of the transmission when they try to remote view me, and that I pick up all their intel. And they continued anyway. And because of that, I was able to put together this. And this is something that is like hidden in plain sight, and it's going to be obvious when I say it to you, but it's going to blow your mind when it actually happens. Okay, so you watch people, and I'm talking about people you've watched since they were teenagers, people who you find to be unbelievably attractive, unbelievably dynamic, who are major players in a most dangerous game with people's lives. And if there is a guy or a gal who has been linked to the Diddy tapes or parties, to the Epstein files, to the Weinstein brothers, to any of that scandalous stuff, and a few people who've been linked to people like Steven Spielberg who aren't scandalous in front of the scenes but are behind the scenes. Those people are major players. They're unbelievably dirty, and they're willing to do anything to get ahead and to get money. Okay, so for example, your favorite actor or an actor that you very much admire as an actor has been linked to one of the people that I've mentioned. They also are a man of a certain age who has a proclivity for younger women. They also have a desire to always be at least in the room with fancy people, with billionaires or whatever it is, and they're always photographed with them or partying with them, or they love yachts, people like that. Those type of people are the players in the game. That's why they work so hard to keep these lists and everything quiet. But a lot of them, like, just go look online. Those people that you see pictured with Weinstein, with Epstein, with Combs, with those people, all of them are the bad guys, and they are willing to do anything. And when you find out who they are, you're going to be shocked because it's so many people, and it's people that you like, but you're going to be like, well, the guy does have all this scandal linked to him. Like, think about it. If you have a guy who cheated on his first wife with his second wife, created a whole family with his second wife, then left the second wife, and now has a girlfriend who's 20 years old, and all of this has gotten him higher and higher and higher in the industry, you know that guy is compromised. And that is going to shock people just how real the crimes and the behavior, this awful behavior of these people is. And I'm going to tell you what they've done specifically to target me. When they realized that I would not ever capitulate and become a part of their group, when they realized that I didn't even want to be a part of their group, at first they wondered how Hollywood or somebody hadn't discovered me yet, because at the time they found out who I was 39 years old. At first they wondered why or how. Then they realized that I had some kind of armor of protection around me that was supernatural. That's when they started with all their weird, stupid supernatural, but it was not super at all. And they're naturally idiots. And so that's why they ended up where they did. But at some point, it became a me versus them, me versus everybody, because they had all been brainwashed. They had all drunk the Kool-Aid. They were all on the same team. And they wanted me to either join that team or be broken by it. And they assumed that with enough time and with enough people, that they would be like the Agent Smiths from the Matrix, and it would be never ending. And it was. And I'm Neo. And it's really fascinating because you're going to be so disappointed in so many of these people for being so, at the end of the day, cheap. What is the word when you're like ambitious with no heart? Like you're just being like vapid, like you just want the power, the money, the clicks, the likes, the whatever it is, like being very vapid and surface level, and doing things that hurt people on a deep level with some very, very trite bullshit. And it's going to be amazing because I feel like it's going to happen very soon. And you're going to hear the names and you're just going to be like, wow, every single one of them, really? Like, is there a single one of them that doesn't have some of this? And the answer is going to be no, because you have to do a little something to get in at all. And so it's about to get very, very interesting. Just know, I hope you don't have any heroes from the silver screen or from the Hollywood media, because they're about to die and get turned to dust, just like the Avengers. And actually, the craziest part about the whole thing, I'll say this one more thing and then I will go, is that I've been handling these motherfuckers and dusting them for so long that I forgot the reason I created the platform was to talk about it. And these guys, the last two guys that tried it, worked on it for like a couple of months. They must have gone in, done the little bit of a training because they're actors, and then tried to do this remote viewing thing. And I told them, I told the audience here on YouTube, which I know is being monitored, that you lose when you do this. I get all of your intel and I get to put more pieces together. And now I have. And the piece is this, and I'll repeat it in case I wasn't clear enough. If the guy has already been linked to a scandal, even if it's a guy that you really, really like, the guy is dirty. And it's going to shock you just how many of those guys there are. Just I'm not going to name names because obviously you know exactly, there's a couple of actors that you really probably like. One of them is in a movie right now who's linked to Harvey Weinstein. That's a major player. That guy's willing to do a little something, something. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's just how it works. So who's the people who were pictured at the Diddy party? Who was at the last white party? That's all. Now you know exactly who those dirty people are, and you knew it all the time. But soon you're going to know exactly what type of dirty they are and what they've been doing. And I believe it's not going to be in a salacious way. It's going to be more in an informational way, like the way that I give it out. And it'll probably be me doing it. And people just like me. Okay? And it's really fascinating because it just came to me, like it all came together for me this morning. I'm like, oh, that's the grander message. Like I'm thinking, these guys, this is the guy that's dirty. Like the guy, I like your movies. Like, really? You really are going to try this with a person like me? You know you're going to lose. Everybody else lost. And you have a reputation to uphold. These last two guys that did it don't have that good of a reputation because they're kind of dirty, but they have a good reputation as solid actors that people currently enjoy. They were in a movie together, two of them, which is probably why they started this. And they were in a movie with a guy who is a Weinstein player. The guy who directed the movie was introduced to Hollywood by Harvey Weinstein. There you go. See, putting it all together. Anyway, stay tuned because obviously this is a developing story. And instead of me just specifically mentioning their names, they've already been mentioned before and they're going to be mentioned again. And so this is a message to everybody. You thought you could hide the list? You thought you could hide the little black books? No, you actually didn't. You fucked around and found out.